hope you all know about the fund and briefly was founded in 1882 and is a national human services organization that fosters stability and resiliency and provides a safety net for performing arts and entertainment professionals over their lifespan. The fund is here to meet the needs of our entertainment community with a unique understanding of the challenges involved in a life in the arts. In addition to career management services, the fund provides emergency financial assistance, information on affordable housing, healthcare, health insurance, senior care, and more. Lots of information. Please note again that we are recording this, so it will be available forever in the future. And many of you know about Jamal already, but I don't mind reading the bio again because it's really illustrious. And a Los Angeles native, Jamal began serious training at the Lula Washington Dance Theater. He holds dual degrees in dance performance and TV radio communications from Southern Methodist University in Dallas, where he just came from last week, where he was performing with the Dallas Opera. And he in the past has performed with the Dallas Black Dance Theater and Fort Worth Dallas Ballet, among other companies. Later, Jamal danced with Donald Byrd, the group, Madonna's 2001 Drowned World Tour, Complexions, and as an aerialist and dancer, shares Living Proof, the Farewell Tour. Mm. He has since performed for The Color Purple and Motown, the musical, on Broadway, serving as a dance captain on both. An avid choreographer, Jamal has set works for several companies, taught as a full-time professor at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and co-chairs the SAG-AFTRA National Dancers Committee. Jamal continues his advocacy for educating young artists about the changing landscape of dance and has written 2 books, 1234 and Toss in the Ether, both available on his website, jamalstory.com. Additionally, Jamal is 1/3 of the host panel for Beyond the Thread, an online forum dedicated to unpacking and deconstructing conversations that happen on social media threads in a more conversational way. Jamal also participates on the Dancers Resource Advisory Council here at the fund. Today, the focus is on dance careering beyond 40 and why you should start now. But first, let's hear from Jamal. Well, what are you doing here?
Okay, so let's just backtrack a little bit. So that was the Cher farewell tour. I've been dancing for Cher ever since. She didn't retire. She's still working, as you all know. So I had a long career working with her from that moment to now, and it's been about 20 years.
Wow.
We'll see if she takes me out this next time. You know, it's just we'll just see. We'll just see. She loves me. Whatever. I don't care what she says. And then the other thing is, you know, we call this module Dance Careering Beyond 40. And the interesting thing is, really, we need to go back. Like, we need to go to 30. What I'm doing right now is I'm working with an extraordinary group of dancers and an extraordinary choreographer and brilliant director, mostly all people of color, at the Metropolitan Opera, doing their production of El Nino. And I say that because I'm around, there are about, I don't know, 27 or so, really, again, beautiful, wonderful dancers. And a lot of them are around 30 or approaching 30, and they're starting to have this conversation now. And I remember they reminded me, just, you know, being around them, that this is, you know, they all come in with toys. You know, the lacrosse ball, I have the lacrosse ball usually, but the double balls and all of the things they come in with, and I'm going, y'all are after my own heart. This is what I live for. I mean, you know, and so actually we said beyond 40, but really 30, really 30. It's just, all of it starts now. So I'm doing that job, and just so happy to be doing it. I really am. I want you to know that I've had a really interesting time dealing with my body on this one. And it isn't necessarily about the work specifically. It's just, you know, it's the body's over 40. So, you know, decide to say no at any given time for any reason, and not necessarily while you're dancing. It can just say, I don't know, maybe not today, maybe not anymore. And so then you do things to sort of intercept that. And I've had those things happen, beautifully and coincidentally, right on the precipice of this conversation. So, I just want you to have that in your mind, Patch, for when you're.
But you told me earlier that you saw 3 different practitioners.
3.
Yeah.
Count them, 1, 2, 3. Actually, I saw 3. I saw an LMT, a licensed massage therapist. I saw an applied kinesiologist, they're chiropractors who are more diagnostic about the way that they work on the body instead of just manually adjusting everything and kind of putting you back together. And I saw a second LMT to deal with something a little bit more specific. All of it in an effort to figure out what is wrong so that I don't tear anything.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. You go, okay, I feel a little knee thing. I feel a little whatever. It's a pinch. It's something. And most of the time, what we do when we're young is we just push through. You just push through. You just go, whatever. I'll get through this gig and then I'll have a break. But chances are there's no break. There is no sort of respite for your body. You usually just push through to the next gig because you have to. You have to pay bills and things like that. This is a profession after all. And so all of it kind of accumulates. Very, very cumulative, the effect of all of these jobs on the human body. And I can't remember who was saying this. More than one person. I wish I could credit it right now, but at least 2 people have said to me that recently that the big difference, although we're called athletes all the time. We're athletes, but the big difference is that we don't have an off season.
Yeah.
We just keep going. I think you might have said that, Patch. You might have been one of the people who said that we don't have an off season. We just keep going. So it becomes even more important to really, really take care of the instrument because it's going to keep going and not deal with it as if it's something outside of us. The way that the violin is the instrument.
But
the player
violinist has to do it too, because it is so specific to you. How the violinist holds the violin and the head and the structure. And basically, you can go to class and get all kinds of corrections, but what your body needs is different than the person next to you. And I think that's increasingly so with age.
Yes. Yes.
With how you're dealing with gravity and things.
Oh, how you're dealing with gravity. And the next part of that is the end for that is that it's also that your body needs to be treated with sort of a customization, because it too will change. It won't be the same body. There's a really, really fantastic, he's a physical therapist and LMT and a few other things. I love to go to see the people who do more than one thing because they have more than one approach to fixing the body. Rich Malonga, and he said, he was telling me, I said, are these the things that I need to do to sort of sustain whatever this is that you've done to fix me right now? And he said, yes, understanding that these are things that will fix you in the state that your body is in right now. 3 months from now, you may come to me and these exercises I'm giving you may not be relevant because your body has changed. And that, if you're making transitions from different dance forms, if you're doing a concert dance gig or something that's very, sort of technically specific, it's going to use your body differently than if you're doing something that is down in the ground, that requires a boot or a pump even, or a heel for the people who dance in heels a lot. Your body will reset, you will adapt as the athlete that you are to the challenge that the work is giving you. And that adaptation is going to shift the matrix of your body, of your alignment, of your musculature, where things sit, how they feel. And then you have to address it there. I was making the mistake early on thinking, okay, if I just in my 20s, if I just do this because they're telling me to do this, and I just keep doing this, and I build all the PT exercises, and now I have a little ritual, I just do this and then I'll be okay. And that's not necessarily the way that it works. So dealing with your body and sort of figuring out how that instrument needs to stay alive and healthy inside of your dancing has everything to do with being aware of where it is presently.
Yeah.
This week I started to have a knee thing, and I didn't understand where it was coming from. I was fine. I was taking class. I just did a job. And I was just starting this one. And the first day of class, I was starting to feel a little something. And then at the end of rehearsal the next day, I was walking home. It was actually painful. I was feeling pain in my knee just walking, not doing anything. Just, in fact, there's that thing that happens, when you're in the space dancing, you don't feel anything because you're going to work and you're going to do it. So, we all know as artists what that is. We're not going, unless I can't move, I can't get down the stairs. Then I call and say, maybe I shouldn't go to work today. That's the art that I'm not saying you should necessarily change any of that. I know that that's what it is. Okay. But I was going, this is crazy. How come it's hurting to walk? So I went to see I went on a Sunday morning to see a massage therapist, a really, really, really good one, who was a dancer. I find that's also great too. You want to have your practitioners. That's where I'm going with this. You want to find ones that have a sense of what you're doing, some kind of understanding of what you're doing with your body, and B, who care about you, right? And so another dancer who is a practitioner this way cares about what this is, just on a visceral level. Perhaps not all of them, but every one of them that I've dealt with has been extremely concerned about, no, I get it, I've been there, and I want to fix it. And so he did a whole lot of wonderful things to release muscle. We clarified that no, you haven't torn your meniscus or your ACL or any of that stuff. So let's fix the problem. But then I needed to go to the applied kinesiologist to find out what exactly was going on that was creating the problem. Now, a chiropractor, again, is a standard chiropractor, and you find some really good ones too. So I don't want to get that information out there that a person who just calls him, her, their self a chiropractor is a bad practitioner. That's for us to go to. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that an applied kinesiologist goes through a series of tests of asking your body questions to get answers that they can then help to diagnose the problem, which for me was that my posterior tibialis, this muscle behind at the bottom, above the ankle, below the knee, in the back, had shut off. It wasn't firing. For whatever reason, it just wasn't actually firing. And so that muscle creates a cushion, for you, as just like shock absorption. You need it. And I wasn't getting any. So every time I took a step, I was feeling all the way up my leg, and the knee was the main reference point. That was a problem. He also found out that T1 through 3 in the thoracic part of the spine, they were kind of not moving. So he said, let's get that articulating again. I have some TMJ stuff that the jaw pattern with T1, 2, and 3 was creating all kinds of things so that I couldn't really engage this pec the way that I needed to. And yet here I am in the studio lifting people and putting them up, all the things. And so then he addressed all of those things for me, and then he put me in alignment, and I was a different person walking out of that office. And then I was having there were still some additional issues going on with the jaw. He released as best he could. This AK takes 15 minutes. I mean, he does it all. And it's like, okay, I'm doing the diagnostic. You're done. Okay, bye. So I had another person who is also extraordinary and specializes in sort of manual manipulation, is also an LMT that was a dancer for years at Mark Morris. Had a long career. And then he came over late and fixed all of this so that I no longer had the problem that was creating the T1 through 3 kind of fusion. That's a strong word, but you guys get it. You all get it. So I say all of that to say that I mean, it may not, I still could, hopefully not, have some kind of problem or malady down the line involving all of this. But the point is, I caught it, I knew there was something wrong, and I went to see all of those practitioners to get it right because I needed this body. I'm not ready for the body to stop working. Also, too, it's not so much that I wanted to not work for dancing. It's not that I want it to not work because I'm dancing. It's that I don't want it to not work because I want to actually walk and live and be and do other things. So that's a big piece of it. What I tell dancers all the time, have your practitioners. Did I get there by myself? No. I was on the Madonna tour and we had a person who was a chiropractor, licensed massage therapist, nutritionist. There are a few other things I'm missing, a few other acronyms that this amazing practitioner has. But this is someone that kept us together, that worked on us on a regular basis when we were on tour. And then I realized that is the reason that I was still doing it. That's why the tour was doable, because there was someone there to do it. Broadway, same thing. The 2 Broadway shows I did, we had access to someone who would come in every now and then, or however often, depending on the contract and the relationship, meaning their contract, not mine, and fix, and work on us and fix things. And so that taught me I need to seek this outside of when I'm doing a gig that is endowed with that person. I need to sort of be mindful. So I started to have my practitioners, the people there. I remember Oprah saying years ago to everyone, they talking about how fabulous she looked. She says, listen, there is a team of people who helped me look like this. A team, a whole team. And what I got from that is, you know what, that's not a bad plan. Even if you can't have your own team in your pocket, you can go out, you can go to the people that you consider your posse, your body posse, to sort of fix things. And that process, you don't want to wait until you're broken. You want to, the minute you feel anything, the minute it's a little off, go and try to get that sorted. It's just, I just, that is one of the things that has kept me going all this time, is that I go and I get it sorted.
And how did you, along the way, how did you find those people?
Some of it was actually through those channels.
Right.
The Broadway, well, I was working for Cher after the retirement tour in Vegas, and we had access to through the contract that Caesars had with the venue, or Caesars had with a specific practitioner or a set of practitioners. We had people come there and work on us on a pretty regular basis, and that was a godsend. One of them, Katie Hightower, she's so incredible. If I'm on the West Coast, I'll make a trip. I've driven to Vegas just to see her. She's on my website, by the way. I listed some of these practitioners that I'm mentioning now on the website. She is, so if you're ever in Vegas or ever in LA or somewhere and you need someone who is going, she is all the things. She's a licensed massage therapist. She's a chiropractor. She does some other version of manual manipulation, and she's certified in acupuncture. So she does needles. She does whatever she needs to do. The good thing about this practitioner too is that she is up on the latest. You want to find people, pay attention to the people who are working in that industry or those industries, depending on how you look at it, who are interested in getting the latest techniques, the newest things. Katie goes to conventions, she goes to seminars, so everything that she has informationally is current, and that is what she is applying to your body, along with years of experience working on cirque performers and aerialists and dancers and the whole 9 yards. So I wasn't giving her up. she knows. She's on the website. I found a practitioner here at the Met on this job, doing El Nino. She's in the cast. Her name is Benaldra, and she is right here in New York. She is one of the best, one of the most ideal practitioners you can have, because she has gyrokinesis and Pilates, and she's done some work with geriatric research to find out how the body changes as it ages. And what she does is she customizes the program or whatever it is that you need to do to maintain your body in whatever gig you're doing. So if I'm doing an aerial job and I'm mostly upper body, then she'll program or build something around, you know, well, this is what's going on, and this is how you want to move more efficiently. This is how it's going to last longer, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, she's the proof in the pudding. She's right there in the gig with me, dancing stunningly. And this is what she does. She is also on the website. There are a few others I haven't put up there yet because I want to make sure I have their landing pages and things like that. But if you go to jamalstory.com, www.jamalstory.com, the body tools tab at the end of it, you'll see I have these resources there.
That's great. It's such a it's everybody needs in every chapter you need a team for that chapter. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just necessary. It's just necessary. And it's a form of self-love that can feel a little bit like Advil and Pepto-Bismol, but it is the answer.
It's also humbling because it's a maturing process that just muscling through it, which really worked up till about 23. Or
I think I maybe got to 25 muscling it.
25, you know, it's just that then you're hurting yourself. And
yes,
that sense of, yes, thank you, maturing process.
It's the maturing process.
Maturing process.
Maturation.
Yes.
As it were.
Wisdom that comes with learning from mistakes.
Yes. Yes.
And getting information about what would make it better. So that's why I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
You know, just for people who are here today that may not have been here in the first two sessions, the last one we were talking about money and contracts and how you get paid and all that. So Jamal mentioned to me earlier that he has just one more piece of that he wants to make sure people
yes. Let me just yes, thank you for reminding me of that. One of the things we talked about was the difference between independent, being self-employed versus being employed by an employer, per the way that IRS looks at us as contractors, right? We're all independent contractors. Even when we're doing gigs for, you know, we're doing a Broadway gig, we're being paid, we're on staff, we're being paid with a W-2, we're contractors. But the way that the government looks at it is very, very, very specific. And we talked about that a little. One of the things that someone asked me is how does all of that work with the W-4s and the 1099s and the W? And so I said, you know, that's a really, really, really good question. And let me share an answer. Well, I guess I have to.
And very timely, given the time of year where we are.
Right. Very, very, very timely. I'm actually trying to find show on window. Here we go. So can everybody see this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is a really crude, I made this diagram myself. So, you know,
it's beautiful.
Thank you. Okay.
So
on the left, you're working for somebody. This is the way IRS looks at it. Okay. On the left, you're working for somebody. They give you a W-4. That means they're going to take taxes out. And then what'll happen is you'll fill out all of that before the gig, and then on the other side of it, at the end of the year, or well, the following year, hopefully at the top of the year, maybe not, sometimes in February, hopefully not in March, you'll get a W-2 that shows this is how much money we paid you, and this is how much money we took out et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. On the other side of things, if they're not planning to take any time, if the person that you're working for, the company or the gig that you're working for, doesn't plan to take any taxes out, they're going to give you a W-9, and then in January or February, hopefully, you'll get a 1099 on the other side of that, right? And this side is for you. Nothing's coming out. You're totally responsible for all of the taxes and everything on the jobs that you do that are W-9, right? And that's sort of just how that works. Like I said, working for somebody, self-employed, that's all IRS, how they look at it. The way that you look at it is we're all self-employed. We're doing, we're gigging. It's just a function of how you're being paid. But I just wanted to sort of demystify this part. The W-4 corresponds with the W-2. And the W-9 is with the 1099. I always think if you see the W-9, it's 99 things you're gonna have to worry about on the other side of that. And that's just one way of kind of helping you to identify that. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that because I figured a visual might help. It would have helped me.
And of course, with the nines, the burden is on you. And so somehow estimating or what your taxes, the amount of 1099 work you're doing and what your taxes might be, so that you aren't all of a sudden done with a tax bill.
Yeah, it's the reason too that the write-offs, the receipt, if you have a lot of 1099, I mean, I want to say that 2 years ago, two years ago, was that 2022? I think I had one W-2, maybe two W-2s, and all the rest of them were 1099s, and I got really nervous. But fortunately, I had so many write-offs. I kept every receipt, keep all the receipts. If you're one of those people who doesn't like keeping receipts, which I mean, you don't have to the same way now because we have all this technology. I find that it's easier. It takes a little discipline. Charge everything on the card. Pay the card off every month. Treat it like an American Express. Charge everything on the card, and then at the end of the year, you can just pull down all those charges. They'll sort it out for you. They'll put it in categories that you need so that you can see it all very clearly. And then you give that to your tax person, and they'll do the rest of all that for you.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice.
It saved me. The receipts were, but yeah, this has been better. The only thing that's challenging, like I said, is the discipline of really try to pay it off every month so that you don't end up at the end of the year with $6,000-7,000 of debt, and then go, wait, how did I?
Yeah.
That has happened. I have done. I'm guilty. I have had it happen. I've done it. I've not paid it. I'll just let it sit a little bit. My monthly's not that high. Yeah, just be mindful of that. Be mindful of that advice. That is the part. That is the caveat. It's great for taxes because you can write off all of that stuff, a lot of that stuff, and it's easy for your tax professional to look at it and know right away, and help you to mitigate your tax liability. So I say all that to say I did it that way, and I was ready. I was going, okay, this is the first year ever that I'm gonna owe. I'm paying. I know I'm paying. And it worked out. I did not owe anything. I think I owed maybe $200 to the state.
And as you mentioned the last time, you also created your own LLC, right?
LLC. Yes. No, I created an LLC.
What that is for people.
Yes. Okay. So the LLC is basic. It's a company, but it's the sole proprietorship LLC is basically a face for you, so that it doesn't help necessarily change your tax liability, but what it does is it gives you a few perks. One is that you're no longer sending your social security number out to everybody. You can kind of protect that a little bit better now with the way that scamming is so prevalent in so many ways, it's helpful to have some other options. So with the LLC, you have an EIN. And that instead of the Social Security, you're using the EIN on those documents that I mentioned before, the W-4 and the W-9 that you fill out, whichever one for whichever gig. You now can, well, let me take that back. The W-9, you can use the EIN for that to fill that out. W-2, we're going to have to pay an employee. So generally, that's going to be your Social Security number. But since the majority of the jobs that we do are 1099 gigs, it is great to be able to use my LLC and pay the LLC, and then I will pay myself from the LLC. There is also there's a little bit of legal protection from the standpoint that, sure, if someone wants to sue, if someone is engaging you contractually and engaging your LLC, then if they're going to file a lawsuit, they have to file a lawsuit against your LLC, not Jamal's story. Now, if they're really, really jerks and they want to try to work around and they're really after my house, then they can go after the owner of the LLC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it is more work. It is more work. It can be done, but it's more work. And generally, that's, you know, not something that gets done. I am not suggesting that any of you will be sued for any reason. I'm just discussing the LLC as in terms of the protections that it offers you as an independent contractor. So it's definitely something. And if you have more questions, if there's a deeper dive there, and if you want that information about that, please shout at me, DM me, get in touch, and we can have the conversation for sure.
Thanks so much. So one of the other topics on that you and I, so we use the word retirement, but we don't really mean it, do we?
No, never. I mean, seldom. Most dance artists I know are really good about retiring from dancing professionally, perhaps, but not necessarily retiring from dance. And it's a good idea not to. What I mean by that is, and not necessarily not retiring from dance, but not retiring your body. I think what happens is we get exhausted. We didn't have off seasons. We just kept going. You just kept pushing through and pushing through and pushing through. And eventually your body says, or you say, I'm not going to do it anymore, right? And at that point, it becomes about dancing or moving on your own terms. What you don't want to do, I think, this isn't gospel. This is just my perspective and what has helped me. You don't want to stop moving, though. You don't want to stop doing physical things, because what you've done for probably at this point 20 years, longer, 30, 40, depending on how early you started training, what you've done is you've grown your body up as a moving body. Your body is now accustomed to synovial fluids running through your joints a lot. It's accustomed to, you know, a full engagement of all the things, right? This is what you've been telling it. Neurologically, your body is responding to what it believes it should be doing. So yes, it will stop you. And I've had several practitioners say injury sometimes is the body's way of saying, since you won't stop, I will stop you. Right, which is one of the reasons that I was so adamant about no. See your practitioners, listen to your body, understand it, learn the things that they're telling you, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that matters too. But the idea is moving is something that is healthy. It's healthy for your body to move. So it just becomes a matter of how intense is that movement happening, how often, and perhaps it's not dance. It might be Taibo. It might be yoga. Did I say Taibo? I just aged myself a lot, didn't I?
I really,
Still Taiboing? I hope somebody is Taiboing out there. Somebody in the comments, please say that you've been to a Taibo. But Tai Chi, yoga, fitness, the sort of mixed fitness classes that have you do, you know, a mix of cardio and isometric
Yeah.
exercises and things like that, a HIIT class. These are things that you want to figure out what works for your body so that you can continue to allow it to move. So we're not retiring from dancing. We're just retiring from dancing to dancing as our primary source of income.
And I think it's also important to separate the mind from the body. So that to understand burnout, and that, you know, what I'm saying often is that you're in a relationship. If you're a dancer, you're in a relationship with dance for your entire life. It's not, it's like, it's permanent, it's forever. And like a lot of relationships, there are good times and bad times.
Yep.
And so being able to recognize burnout as being the reason you're not having fun anymore, you don't like it, it makes you unhappy. It's something about, it's worth finding out how did that you go down that road when you know it's part of who you are. So
Yes.
it's a real, you know, that's also mental health and talking, but keeping the body moving in a healthy way through that, no matter what, means when you come out the other side, you still have yourself, you know?
Yes.
I think it's
Yes.
really important what you're saying.
That that was beautifully put, Patch. That's beautifully put. It's true. It's just true. It's just true. The mind, they're separating the mind from the body in terms of for that part of the conversation,
Yeah.
and then also understanding the connection of those two things. You know, moving forward into your 30s, and then into your late 30s, and then into your 40s. And I will say that the people that I've seen do that dance into their 40s and 50s, I mean, Sherry Sparkle Williams, I want to say that she just retired from dancing professionally, the Dayton Contemporary Dance Company, maybe a few years ago. And I'm pretty sure that that woman, who is ripped right now, like ripped, she's short and just like, I don't even understand how she does it. But Sherry Sparkle Williams is 60 if she's a day. And she is incredible still. For that reason specifically, I suspect. I ask her, how are you doing? And she says, you know, I just keep going. I just, you know, and I'm okay. Okay. But yeah, I think that's a lot of it. She was always one of the things that I used to watch. And so we danced at Complexions together back in the day. Complexions was a company that was sort of an invitational company. Dwight and Desmond would invite their friends or colleagues or people that they saw dancing and thought were incredible, and put us all basically in the same space, in the same ballets. And I had the pleasure of working with Sherry in that context, with Eddie Liang from New York City Ballet in the, you know, in the same ballet. Anyway, I remember that, you know, for her way of dealing with all the steps is she would either sit or get horizontal and close her eyes and imagine herself doing all of the choreography. She would go through the entire ballet and actually commit her brain to whatever it was she was going to do. I watched her do this, and then she would get up and slay on the Marley. It was incredible to watch. So there's something about that if you can keep that up, if you can manage that, it can be extremely helpful. It can be so now what do we say? We said, you know, you got to have your practitioners.
Yeah.
And you want to think in terms of retirement, not as a stop.
It's a hard stop.
It just, because the other thing too is that the advantage we have as movers is that we're already doing the thing that we're encouraging our parents and others who are non-dancers and non-movers. We're encouraging them to do exactly this, and doctors are doing it, and you know, people outside of the medical field who you know, that we consult, they're all saying the same things. You have to get the blood flowing, you have to get moving, you have to get oxygen in those muscles so that they will continue to work. You just don't have to push them, you know, for three acts a night, or, you know, or 4.3 million steps. You just don't have to push it for that.
That's right. I mean, it's so much easier to be sort of a healthy mover rather than a professional mover at
Oh yeah.
times.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So part of what we talked about too is this notion of creating other sources of income so that you can do the gigs you want to do. You can basically you can be picky about the kinds of projects you want to work on because you have another income stream. So how has
Yes.
that worked out for you?
Okay, well, so I'm advising this because I should have done it sooner. I mean, some of it I did put in place. I've written a few books, and that has given me a little bit of street cred in that arena to move forward. But I don't know if I said this in either ones of the last two sessions, but I'm an insurance broker, and I do financial services, but partly because I wanted to pass on not just information, but access for my dancers and artists, non-dancer artists and people to retirement. I wanted to be able to have that conversation from a more educated space of finances versus, just not being able to help get a dancer to retirement.
And how
And
did you learn about that?
I had been invited on a few different occasions by close friends who I have family members who have been doing financial services or insurance or some form of it for years, and I've been constantly getting invited. They know that I graduated from the California Academy of Mathematics and Science High School. I don't know, you don't necessarily put your high school stuff on your resume and things like that, but I did, and I'm very much a right and left brain thinker. So it made sense. So when I started to think, what do I want to, what would I be happy doing, or what would I be comfortable doing, that came up. And so I said, oh, I'll get the license eventually. I'll get the license eventually. Oh, I'll get that. And then eventually I finally said, you know what? Why are you waiting to get this license? You want to start doing this on your terms. Yeah. And by that I mean this. What none of us really feel great about is, oh, I've had a fantastic career. It's been wonderful. Okay, I'm retiring. Now I have to start something new to make some money. Can I sleep on your sofa patch just for about a year while I pull it together, and then I'll build a client base and everything, and then I can get out? Just give me that. At whatever age, that's not what you're interested in doing. You don't want to do that part, right? And so one of the things I recommend, and this is something that I again, if I had done it a little soon, I knew what I was going to do. I had a sense of what I might do, but I just didn't do it as soon as I would have liked. And so the push has been a little bit more aggressive inside of financial services for me, so that I can not rely on dance as my primary source of income. Although I'm very blessed that somebody is still willing to pay me to get on stage somewhere and do something. So, or teach someone how to get on stage and do something, or sit in front of you and talk about all of the times that I was on stage doing something and all of the things around that. So I feel extraordinarily blessed, and I have a lot of gratitude for that. That said, I if I had started a little sooner, then it would have been easier. And what I would recommend is dig into the things that you find along your career. Start to investigate things that you could see yourself being happy doing. I say being happy doing because what you've been doing so far is exactly what you love. How many of us in the world get to actually live and make a living doing what it is we love, right? So that your mind and body and spirit and all those things can still be healthy, it would be great, right, to carry that on into the next chapter, right, into the next phase of whatever this is that you're going to do. Wouldn't it be great to be happy going to work in that context as well? And so sometimes it just works out and you land in the right place. But the reason I urge artists to look at it early, don't wait until you're 40 to look at it. Start looking at it in your 20s. And by looking at it, I mean just feeling it out. Do I like the wardrobe department? Is that something that I think I might want to do? I know I have a colleague on Share who thought, yeah, that is something that I could do. I think I kind of like this. And then she started doing wardrobe, and her body is doing fine. She does other things for it, and she's very physical and active, but she makes her coin doing something she loves, you know? And so I look at those things as you're going about your career in dance, start to explore the other things, because you have more time if you start early. You know, if you start at 25, 26, 27, then if you're going to dance for another, I don't know, even if you're only going to dance for another 7 or 8 years, you got 7 or 8 years to dabble. And by dabble, I also mean the minute that you figure out this is what it's going to be, this is what I'm going to do, now you can start to make inroads. Now you can start to network. Now you can start to get in touch with and apprentice under the people who are doing what it is you think you want to do. If it's still in entertainment, great. Some people go, you know, is there a way I can get into stage management? Is there a way? Do I need to go and get a degree to, you know, to do, you know, a lot of stage managers do have degrees, and then I know some who don't. So maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't be necessary. But the idea is to start tracking those things. Start early. Do not wait, and then you won't feel the pressure of it later on. You won't.
Yeah, and I also think it's an identity thing, is that it's basically you are whoever you say you are.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, so you're not dancing anymore, you're selling insurance. It's sort of like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and so let me just, and so we talked about branding.
Right.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, right? So what Jamal, what does it have to do? What does it have to, what is that, what is insurance, life insurance, at what is life insurance or annuities? What do they have to do with, you know, a grand battement?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Or an aerial routine. Yeah.
Or a silk. What does your financial service, what does that have to do with anything, right? And so
What is the connection?
right, well, and the connective tissue is that for me, it had to be about what is one of my other passions. It's this. It is giving this back to dancers and artists. I want people to have the information. I want you to know how to read your contract, or at least where to go to find out what it means. I want that for the dancers. I want that for, I mean, I'm looking at, again, I keep going back to the room full of gorgeous dancers that I just left today to get home for this. And I want that for them. I want them to know. I want them to have that information. I want them to be able to you know, mine all of that stuff and know what's going on there. And so so from a branding standpoint, how does it all work out? Well, I am a dancer who has had a really wonderful career, who is interested in giving back in that way, and can go the step further, and not just, forgive me for being redundant, but it's so important. The branding piece of it is that I don't have to stop at just telling you need a Roth, or you need an insurance policy or something that is going to pay you on the back end tax-free, because you don't have a 401k, or you do have a 401k, but all the jobs you're doing can't go into the 401k because it stays with the employer that you got the 401k with. You know, I mean, those are the kinds of things that so now I can help and go, no, we need a retirement plan, and I can write the policy for that plan. So that's the intersection. That's the intersection I was looking for. Now, where I learned that, the mistake I made, or I guess the place that I had to find that out, was inside of writing the two novels, writing the first novel. And I was teaching, it was my first book, 1234, was in the curriculum at a few different colleges on the West Coast. And one of those professors asked me to come in and teach and, you know, lecture to the class. So in the middle of a Nutcracker rehearsal period, I flew over the weekend, put on a sports coat, and said, "Okay, I'm in the room." And during that, at the end of the conversation, which I'm happy that the professor didn't tell me, oh yeah, they had all kinds of questions and issues and things that they brought up in your book, and they were, they had their arms folded, and and by the end of the conversation, by the end of your lecture, they were totally different people with you. And I was like, thank you for not telling me that in advance. But at the end, they asked, and this happened in every class that I where that book 1234 was being taught. It was, well, it says on the back of this book that you danced for these people, and I see Cher and all like why haven't you written about that? I just don't understand. They were absolutely having a difficult time seeing the person standing in front of them as only a novelist, because on the back of the novel is it worked out. You were on tour with Madonna and Cher, and you did a Neo gig. Like, what? I don't understand. So that's when I realized I had a branding problem, because that was too conflicting. And so the next book I wrote was, of course, a book about dance. Well, it's a piece of fiction called Toss in the Ether, about a woman who pushes her husband down the stairs, a dancer who pushes her husband down the stairs. That's the first 6 pages. And then how that affects the dance company she's dancing with. And anyway, so, but the point is, the intersection of those things conceptually is what I realized I had to make happen. So this time I did that very, very deliberately with a lot of intention. I did that this time with this move into financial services. And I was clear that it needs to be a slow cross dissolve, not a hard cut. No one's interested. I had to respect the fact that the people in my warm market, people I know that I might be engaging in this way outside of dance, are probably loath in a lot of ways to let go of me as a performing artist. And that's this is what I've been told. And so that's one of the things that was, it's not that the family members don't want to support whatever endeavors I'm involved in. It's that they don't want the endeavors that they have come to love and associate with my brand to end. Yeah, and so that's something else to consider, and it's something else I would never have thought about. So I'm happy to share it here. All of that is part of the thinking you want to do in your late 20s. What is that going to be? And now, and you, Pat, you asked about other streams of income. Of course, that's, if you can start to figure out ways that you can invest your time and energy into things that will create streams of income, passive streams of income for you on the other side. Sometimes that's a longer thing. Sometimes that's an indexed universal life policy. Call me. Sometimes that's investing in the market, which if you're doing it, if you're investing in the market right now, yeah, it's going to be ugly. You don't even want to look at it. But over 30 years, that's a different story. There'll be tax consequences on the other side, but that's okay. There's still growth, right? The big problem is with retirement, and it's because a lot of us don't understand how Social Security works and how retirement works, is that if you wait until you're my age to start growing your money, you won't have enough time for it to grow into something substantial, given inflation, given the cost of things. That's the big conversation, is that a dozen eggs is outrageous all over the country right now.
Right, for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to go back to just round these conversations into advocacy? I mean, where we started with the series about self-care goes beyond self.
Yes, it does. One of the things that I'll say this because all of you are going to go back and watch sessions 1 and 2, of course. But I'll say it right now for this one, for all of you who were who showed up, kindly showed up to this one. Patch asked me in both of those other sessions how I got into unionism and advocacy of that sort, and I gave answers that were absolutely about how I got into unionism specifically. But the advocacy in general, the advocacy piece in general started when I was in my 20s on a big tour with a major artist. I'm able to talk about this portion of it legally, I think. But basically we were having conflict with management, not the artist. Hear me when I say management. I still to this day don't know if the artist ever found out, but we're having conflicts with management about the fact that they were not wanting to pay us a full rate for the rehearsal process. They were wanting to pay us half of our salary for that, but it was a really grueling process. It was and the salary that they were offering was less than what this artist had paid dancers 8 years prior. So talk about inflation. I'm going, well, how does that, in what other industry does that work? Does it work that way? Help me, because the people who were haggling with us would not take a pay cut like the one that they were thrusting upon us. And so, the good news is because of the haphazard way that things were going for that, and the fact that also to save money, we're shaving a month off of the calendar. We had not signed our contracts yet. We were still haggling. We were working every day. We were in rehearsals. We were doing the thing, and we had not signed our contracts. So we were able to walk. We wrote a letter. When I say walk, I mean all 100% of the dancers hired on the gig got together and said, you know what? We will not be abused. We will not be abused. And we walked. We hand wrote a letter that if I had been able to get to all of those dancers before this conversation, I would have another slide with that letter up. Yeah. And we said, we thank you, with handwritten, all signed, and thank you so much for the opportunity. We're excited to be here. We think you're amazing, but we can't work under these conditions. No. And so we left. And then we got a call, I think about an hour later. We walked away, and we got a call an hour later saying, if you don't all come back to the soundstage, you're fired. And we laughed. We went, no. You got this all twisted. We walked. You can't fire us, but have it your way. We said, oh, okay. So then I think a panic must have happened, because we got a call back by the time we got to the rendezvous point with all of us that, okay, you can have everything you want as long as you're back before the artist gets here at whatever time. And we said, okay. And that's exactly what happened. And the thing that bothered me for years is that agents weren't telling that story. People weren't telling that story. People weren't arming dancers in their purview with the information that if you advocate, if you start with self and say, you know what, I'm not gonna know this, we've got to draw the line somewhere. And it can't be at, I just want to work with this artist because I want to work with this artist because, oh my God, like it can't be that. This is a profession. This is a career. These are jobs, So once we started there, and then all of us realized we were in the same place, we realized that we had leverage, and we used that leverage to get not just what we wanted, but what we should have been getting, And so that was the beginning of self-advocacy for me. That was the beginning of me understanding, no, you need to protect yourself. You need to watch out for yourself. You need to learn what these contracts are saying. You need to have a sense of what you're liable for and what you're not. You have to have an understanding of agency and how they work with you, for you, all of those things. You want to understand all of this, Jamal, so that you can continue to do this because what about the times that you don't have the other collective to, you know, kind of go with? And that was a challenging thing. I was very, I am still this many years later, very proud of all of us for that moment. And again, I feel like it should be discussed. It should be discussed. People should talk about it. I mean, meaning that inside of our industry, to understand that no, this can happen this way. You know, it isn't always we're going to go hire a brand new crop of dancers if you know if you all don't want to be here.
What would that have cost them? The fact is,
Oh my goodness!
time
Well,
and
we
the-
knew we had so much leverage based especially on cost. You
yeah,
know, a big artist is going to have auditions, you know, possibly more than one. Well, this is before the pandemic and before we were doing a lot of self tapes and submissions and things like
Yeah.
that to weed out and all of that stuff. But you know, back then, you know, it's big audition. So you might be at an audition and there might be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people being seen in that city. And then it's going to happen on the other coast, 2,000, 3,000 people being seen, you know? So the artist has gone through all of that to pick these. So you're going to tell the artist that none of those people that they picked are in the room?
no,
Oh, we're just going to go get you some other ones. No, that's not how that works. The
Right.
artist is going to go, what's happening? What's happening?
and just pay them and come on, you know, kind of.
It's so simple. It's so simple. And this, of course, has a lot to do. I mean, we talked about contracts before. This was a tour. There is a touring agreement that SAG-AFTRA has, but it hasn't been. The word isn't ratified. It's not. The bargaining partners on the other side are, which is in this case would be the record labels, are not required to use it. Because it had to be, there were some things that would have had to happen first. It can be used, but it's not a requirement. So every tour you go on, I mean, when you go on these tours, you're not under a SAG-AFTRA contract necessarily, even though there are certain SAG-AFTRA rules that apply because the artist is, chances are, union through the recordings category and agreements made in that space. So yeah, that was a big thing. So I tell you that because it was life-changing for me. It was affirming that, oh no, we can take care of ourselves in this. We don't have to go down in flames or beat ourselves up and you know, inside of these jobs and not be able to pay bills at the end, or barely be able to scrape by at the end. No, there's definitely another way. And it has to do with advocating for yourself. And the advocacy is in all of the things that we discussed over these 3 sessions, right? It's in learning the contracts, or the contracts, or at least understanding which ones fall under which unions, how those contracts are negotiated, the fact that you have a voice in that negotiation process if you engage the union that is actually fighting the other side for a better contract. You know, dealing with agents and understanding what that is and being as proactive on that side of those relationships as you need to be. All of those things play into that advocacy, self-advocacy piece. It's all of the headache of the learning of the things is for you to be able to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have questions? I don't know.
Well, there's one. It's a nice one though, because it goes back to what you were talking about, just the balancing act. Katie is saying, can you please share your thoughts on balancing the dancer mentality to always push with continuing to incorporate movement in a healthy way as we mature?
I think, yeah, it's a good question. And I don't want to prescribe an answer that, you know, that's one size fits all, But what I can say is that letting go of some of the values that you had for yourself inside of movement at 16, which is, I'm going back because this is where it all starts. The crazy that you're talking about, it all starts back whenever you either in your training or wherever you started training, or in my case, I started really late in this. I think I was 15 when I started dancing seriously. I was a gymnast before that, and I kind of quit, and then and then dance found me, right? But still, the crazy was there and is there, and just even in the case of going to take class, like I'll take ballet class if that's the whatever class is at the Met being offered that morning to get ready for the day. If I'm up to it and I need it, and which is every other day, I try to do something in there. But I take class, and I'm not taking class for aesthetics, unless that's the job. If the job is, we need a 90-degree arabesque, then I guess I got to get my leg up to 90 somehow in this class. But the idea is, if it's not about aesthetics, if it's about, I need to come to this process fully healthy and fully ready and fully engaged, then I take class that way. And then I start doing that as part of my practice, and it alleviates some of the angst about, I need to look like this. I need it to look like this. You know what? No, not necessarily. If I'm not doing a fierce arabesque inside of the gig, then maybe I don't need to worry about whether or not it looks like that in class, right?
Right.
So the
Right.
idea, the mentality, what I think it's not so much eroding the mentality of being your best self. It's about redefining what best is for this body at this point in time, which kind of goes along with the idea of the presence, right? You're inside of the present space of what your body feels like, right? What does it feel like? What is it doing? That's going to determine whether or not I need to go see the LMT, the chiropractor, or just go to the spa. I mean, my roommate, who is my sister, I mean, Latrice is my sister, essentially. She really is. I love that woman, two pieces, and she kind of takes care of me in this in my house. It's amazing. But but Latrice, one day, she said, I came home, and she said, so I have this right here. This is a spa day pass that you can use on one of these days. You're going to tell me which one you want to use. And this is and you're going to go to the spa, and you're going to spend the day, and they have, the sauna and the steam room, and they're themed, and you can go to different ones. And then they have the pools. You're going to the spa. That's what you're doing. And I said, you know what? You're right. Yes, I'm going. What day am I going? I can tell you. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Because that was what was necessary, right? And so she understood that this was one of the things I needed. And so you want to, in the present moment, right? I didn't need a 90-degree arabesque at that moment. I needed to take my behind to the spa, right? And so I think the mentality, again, not a one size fits all. I think you want to figure that part out, because I think figure that part out as you can with this information, or with this lead. I'll give it to you as a lead, right? Because what you're trying to do is find ways to separate yourself from things that would cause you any kind of stress or toxicity as far as that push is concerned. I don't know if that was a helpful answer, but it's definitely the one that has worked for me.
I think also, since we're talking about figuring this out as just a more mature person, I think just more life experience and so forth is, I think, what you've been talking about is, a lot now about what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Right.
And being able to put that first over what you feel people are expecting of you, or what you're projecting onto the
Sure.
situation. And so that you take a chance on giving what you think the situation requires from what you can do. So there's a certain kind of fear, right? What if that's not good enough? And then
Right.
that,
Right.
then that's the conversation
Yes.
with yourself, which
Yes.
is, if it's not good enough, maybe I don't belong here. Because it might mean that I'm going to hurt myself, or I'm going to, basically when you mention toxicity, is that maybe I'm going to be in a toxic cloud, because I've tried to be something I'm not, or that I really can't put my heart into anymore. So that's the risk, is that if I am my best self for the situation as I appraise it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not good enough, what information do I have? Move on, move over, find something else, go play with people who do appreciate you. But that's a tough one. That's
It is.
a real evolved sense of self, and risk taking, when you're feeling more vulnerable because you're not the person you were.
Right.
The
Right.
loss of that powerful person. And now, am I good enough? I just think that's always a fear.
Agreed. 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 And I want to share also, I haven't had the pleasure of reading this, but I have friends who have, who say it's really good. This book might have some answers.
Oh,
Uh,
that looks
How to
wonderful.
Dance Forever. Daniel published this a while ago, years ago, actually. And it has been helpful for quite a few of my colleagues in terms of just, moving forward into your 30s, into your 40s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Dance Legend writes about diet, sex, dangers, healers, treatments, making a living, and most important, the heart and mind of the dancer who survives. So that's something to look at. And this is just in the spirit of me offering as many resources as I can.
Yeah,
That'll be on the website somewhere too.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was the one question
Oh,
that
I see
oh, here's
another.
one. Meredith is
Yeah.
saying, I think I'm remembering correctly that this program came from a grant that underwrote the development of it, Jamal. Oh, okay. I didn't read that to you, that it's a New York State Council on the Arts grant,
Mhm.
along with donations by
Collie
uh,
Wynn.
Colleen Wynn.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
what I can tell you, and Jamal can finish answering it. Did you seek it out and apply for that grant and then approach the fund? I ask as I'm thinking of it as a template for me to teach a class series. Is it smart to apply for a grant and then approach an institute, maybe alma mater, as a way to open teaching opportunities? Or are there other avenues that are smarter to begin with? Would love to. Oh, that's a really good question.
Yes, yes. You want to start, Patch, since you
Well, I'll just say that this particular grant that Jamal was managed to win was it was COVID oriented. It was about bringing helping the dance community get back into performing and the business of dance after the shutdown for COVID. So it was a kind of chunk of money that was there. And Jamal wisely figured out how to present a proposal, and then said to the fund, let me be the artist in residence so that I can deliver this training.
Yeah,
An interesting thing about finding money. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Jamal?
that was you covered it. I think the rest of Meredith, the rest of it is that the answer is yes. Part of it has to do with proposing to an organization like this one, like the Entertainment Community Fund, um, what it is you think would be in line with that brand and that host of services provided to the community that it serves, the organization serves, and finding ways that what you are able to offer aligns with those objectives of the organization. If you can make that happen, then I don't think it's ever a bad idea to approach, to approach an organization or any institution. Yes, even your alma mater, wherever you went to school, sure, because there's going to be money for it somewhere, or there can be money for it down the line, particularly if it's a university. Sometimes that takes a second, but yeah, there is definitely value in pursuing it.
And at the university level, you might want to look at the student services.
Mhm.
You know, student activities, student services, they somehow have, funding. I would also encourage people to join Dance USA, which
Mhm.
does publish regularly calls for proposals and funding around the country for certain populations or certain settings, and you just might find one that seems to be a fit, and like dance for seniors or for kids, or it be organizations that are putting out proposals for applications, and then part of it might be then finding, I'm applying for this. Is this something that you would want to house here? So learning about that is a good thing to do. Meredith, where are you? Are you located?
I'm gonna say
In
oh,
LA.
LA.
In LA. So, there are the Center for Nonprofit Management. I don't know if that's what it's called now, but in LA has one, something like that. And they have a library and they have resources. It may be online at this point. And just to be researching organizations that are posting grants or looking for teachers or looking, and then you find it and you go to the organization that you think, listen, do you want me to apply for this? And will you host it? So there are ways to do what you're saying, which is find the money and then find where it can land. But that's a good place, Center for Nonprofit Management, just to find out about that.
Yeah.
And how to write a proposal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a resource. I'm sure there's some resources there, right? At the fund that might be where an artist could find out how to do that, or
Well, and it's the kind of thing, it's a conversation. So, ask this question everywhere you go, where, how are people finding funding? It's the right question. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, that's a really good one. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's about the money.
Both of you, Meredith and Katie. These are great questions.
Yeah. So those are our Meredith and Katie and Meredith, okay. Looking for grants.
Ask the organization. Oh yeah, no, I think we covered it.
We did that.
Yeah.
There's also understanding what a fiscal sponsor is. In other words, there are organizations that will, if you find the money, but you're not an entity, that they will handle, yes. So you understand that. So that's the world of funding. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That world.
Yeah. But sharing resources with other people, just like you're doing here, is a big piece of it. All right. So, I think we can wrap this up,
Yeah, I think
if
so.
we hit all the main points that you wanted to hit.
Mhm. Yeah.
I hope that people who are here, yeah, look at that.
I wanted to say too, I know I know that most of the people on here understand the reason that I didn't mention the artist specifically, and most of that has to do with the NDA. I think that because of the way that all of it went down, that this conversation falls outside of the NDA, but I'm gonna err on not taking any chances, because I'm also doing this in conjunction with our host, the Entertainment Community Fund. So I want to keep them as far away from trouble
Yeah,
as possible.
it's fine. This story had impact. I mean, we believe you.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, I hope people who are attending we'll look at the entertainmentcommunity.org website just to see all that is available to all of you in the business, and that you'll sign up and attend an info session, an orientation with the Career Center, and just we're the biggest, fattest network that you can find around how you're managing yourself in the business, as well as developing these other ideas that you may have with people who get it, and share a lot of like Jamal, are generous around sharing. There's this enormous generosity going on within our program because it's that sense of community, and that community is really the secret sauce for making things happen, and security and solidarity and all that. So
Yes.
I thank you, Jamal.
Yes, you are
It's so much
so welcome.
fun.
All of these sessions, when we get done with the post-production,
Yeah.
you know, when they clean me up and things, all of this will be available on the ECF website, on my website, as resources. Of course, the ECF also is on my website as a resource. You know, and I have a great relationship with this organization, and with career transitions for dancers and all of the things. So I'm going to continue to build all those things into the website. Everything that I've talked about though here, well, in terms of resources, that stuff is there. You can find it. And of course, if you need any questions answered beyond what I've discussed, or any deeper dives, because of course this was what was this? This was the 101, right? This was
It was
dance careering 101.
Fundamentals of Jamal's story.
Yes, there's a 200 level class. Yeah, there's 200. There's a 200. Just holler at me. I'll get you sorted.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and spread the word.
Please, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.